think the biggest challenge is the changing technology and the changing work that optometrists have got to do. And what we've really got to do is to ensure that we prepare ourselves for that changing environment, and that's both through being educated well, making sure that the systems and the way that our practices are delivering services are adaptable and flexible. Let's face it, we don't know what's going to be happening in the future, but all we can do is prepare for change, because certainly change is inevitable. I've been in optics for the last 30 years, and when the day that I qualified, if you told me about some of the technology that's now available and some of the stuff that I use every day, I'd have said that's never going to happen. And so for my colleagues, that will be an exponentially increasing speed of change, and what an optometrist will be doing in 20 years' time, I probably won't even recognise some of the skills that they'll have then.
We're faced with lots of challenges, internet supply of products, and also coming along the line technology where refractions can be done via the PC or even an app on the iPhone, etc. And I feel that patients really haven't been educated in the past to understand that there's far more to an eye examination than the refraction.
I think there's a couple of things around communication that came through today. One is around how we interact and communicate with our patients, and that's absolutely critical. But interestingly, I thought the other insight for me around communication was about how we communicate with other healthcare professionals. And I suppose as optometrists, we're probably a bit analytical, a bit scientific, and we often don't think about how important those relationships are and how we position ourselves to have the right relationships with our local ophthalmologists, how we build our own personal brand with those people to make ourselves open to feedback, to learn, but put ourselves on their radar. And it struck me today listening to the conversation. If we don't do that, we'll miss the opportunities. And it's really interesting when Colin was talking about his view as an ophthalmologist. He needs optometrists who are reaching out to him, who want that interaction. And I suspect that the optometrists who do that with him locally are the ones who will benefit most when the world changes.
I think from my point of view, listening to our ophthalmologist colleague, Colin Parslow, saying that he was really unsure of the different skill levels that optometrists have in the community. And I think there's a message there that maybe we need to communicate better to our ophthalmology college what optometrists can do in practice.
The really central theme, which I don't think is particularly new, but I think is gaining more traction, is the idea of optometrists, dispensing opticians, seeing themselves and behaving like health professionals, seeing themselves as part of a wider system of healthcare, working more closely with other healthcare professionals. And I think being more comfortable with making clinical judgments, drawing information from a range of sources, weighing up risks, and then being able to discuss options, make recommendations to patients. And that cultural shift, which includes taking more ownership for their continuing professional development, is something that I think we're starting to see, but will become a longer term trend, and I think is really vital if we're thinking about the future roles of practitioners. At the GOC, I think we're really keen to understand how the optical sector is changing so that regulation actually supports and enables developments in eye care that would be good for patients rather than getting in the way and being seen as a hindrance. So it's really important and helpful to actually hear different perspectives, different views on the issues that are affecting people working in practice, so that we can make sure that our regulation is actually going to be a force for good in the future.